Let's talk some Florida recruiting. Big win over LSU on Saturday night in the Swamp, and it's going to have major recruiting implications. It already sounds like the Gators are on the verge of landing their QB for the 2025 cycle. We're going to bring on Corey Bender from Gators Online to talk about some of the fallout from UF's big win over the Tigers. Also, five-star Jamie Ffrench, the wide receiver committed to Texas. He was on campus. What does it mean? We're going to talk all about it. But guys, before we get going, smash that subscribe button. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, and we're here talking Florida Gator recruiting, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Corey Bender from Gators Online. So DJ Lagway gets it done in prime time. Major maturation moment for the young QB, and recruits took notice. We'll talk QB in a moment here, but first, I want to talk five-star wide receiver Jamie Ffrench, committed to Texas from Jacksonville. I talked to Justin Wells of Inside Texas, and I asked him, is this a recruitment that we just haven't been talking enough about? We see Jamie Ffrench in the Swamp on Saturday night. Corey, what does it all mean?
Yeah, Josh, it's really interesting because Jamie was at Texas when they beat Florida, and obviously that was a convincing victory. You would think after a loss like that why would he go to Gainesville? Why would he even take that OV? But Florida's been persistent with them, even though they weren't even a final contender for the two times he committed to Alabama and then Texas. Florida never took their foot off the accelerator. And, I think it's big for Florida. Even before this visit, we had a source from a source that kind of was connected to another school that they believe that when it's all said and done, Ffrench will end up at Florida. That's kind of hard to kind of say right now because, that commitment to Texas is strong. But, proximity is a big thing with him. Obviously, the DJ Lagway effect, he knows he can play right away. In Gainesville, they're losing some receivers. And Billy Napier has told all these five-star receivers that they're recruiting in this class that, hey, you can come in and make an immediate impact. And obviously, with Jacksonville not being far from home, a lot of Jacksonville natives on the roster, there's kind of been a latent appeal down here, down the stretch. But I think having Billy Napier come back, having that announcement, that boosted Florida in his eyes a little bit. And I think the main thing is, though, Josh, is having, obviously, DJ Lagway, the presence he has, and then seeing that game up close, seeing that environment. And, that was one of the best environments. I talked to a lot of people that went to these games throughout the years. They thought it was one of the best environments they've ever seen for a Florida game. So I think when you mix all that together, it's really no surprise that kind of Florida is maybe having him think a little bit. And then the NIL factor too, Josh. It's a smaller class. So when it comes to NIL, Florida has a little bit more wiggle room with that. So it's very interesting. I think Florida right now, you almost have to view them as a school maybe with the best shot changing his mind. Yeah. Do I think he's going to definitely flip from Texas? That's kind of hard to say right now. In-home visits are going to be a big thing. Texas is probably going to regain some momentum at some point. Obviously talk to him. And obviously we always say visit high. But obviously spending a few days in Gainesville, I think if you're Florida, it was the perfect timing to get him on campus and obviously along with the atmosphere and a big win.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Now, I teased at the top that UF could be getting their 2025 QB, and it could tie into Jamie Ffrench because on Monday, Jacksonville Mander, in the same high school that Jamie Ffrench attends, quarterback Tramel Jones decommitted from Florida State. This weekend, he was on campus at UF, and Corey, the predictions, they've been rolling in. Steve Wiltfong, Chad Simmons. The predictions say that Tramel Jones will be a Florida Gator, but my question to you is when, and also, does it impact Jamie Ffrench's recruitment?
Absolutely, man. No, I think 100%. I think, like you said, Josh, Florida's training heavily for Tramel Jones, and obviously their teammates, they both took on officials this weekend. They're together the whole trip. I think that's the other part. Obviously, he's not committed yet, so we didn't mention that at the front end. But as of right now, it would be a major surprise if he didn't commit to Florida. So I think if you add him in the class, someone obviously a lot of wide receivers respect a whole lot in this class. Then you have DJ Lagway in the roster. It gives you two young quarterbacks that you're familiar with, and two guys you feel that you can have success with. So right now, even before that, you have to kind of feel good about where Florida stands with Jamie Ffrench, but if Tramel Jones commits, which I think it will be sooner than later, I was talking to someone this weekend that they thought it could be before the end of next week, but time will tell. And the reason I say that too, there's no other schools really in the mix for him that we're aware of. It was always Florida State, but that was where the hard commitment was. But Florida is a school that offered over 2 years ago, and they stayed persistent, saying, "Hey, you're the guy we want as a quarterback in this class." So, when you kind of factor in, I don't see any other school kind of winning out for him. But when he officially does jump on board, if that does happen, I think that only benefits, obviously, where it sits with Jamie Ffrench.
All right. Games like this late in the season can sway a recruitment one way or another, and a big win goes a long way, and the Gators did just that. Saturday night, the Swamp was absolutely buzzing. So, Corey, which recruitment do you think that this win had the biggest impact on? Hey, Inside Scoop fans and college football recruiting nuts, it's time to upgrade your audio game. You may have a pair of headphones you like, but the battery life, it's too short, or they just don't stay in your ears, or you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars every time you lose an earbud. Enter JLab. JLab is creating headphones, earbuds, and work accessories designed for everyday lifestyle. You guys know the best of the best are wearing them, from Travis Hunter to Ohio State's Will Howard to Quinshon Judkins. So, for travel, here's what we recommend. The JBud Lux over-ear headphones. If you're working out, get the JLab JBuds Sport ANC4, offering a secure fit and a super long battery life for those tough workouts. Discover your perfect pair of headphones. Look for the JLab Blue Box at retailers everywhere, or visit jlab.com.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you can go with a few guys with that, because I just think, like we said before, the timing was perfect. It's arguably their biggest visit weekend. But I'll say Oregon wide receiver commit Dallas Wilson, another five-star prospect. In recent months, he's been committed to Oregon for almost 2 years. I've always said it's going to be hard changing his mind. But as we get down the stretch, this proximity, distance from home play a factor. Miami was the other school that he heavily mentioned for a while, probably having the best shot flipping him. But last night, speaking to Gators Online, Keith Niebuhr, he said, he thinks Florida has a better shot flipping him than Miami does. On top of that, he set an official visit for next weekend. And, Billy Napier said, hey, Elijah Badger, he's a guy kind of in your similar skill set and size. We see you making an immediate instant impact in the mold of what he's doing, being a day one guy. Told him he reminds him of Mari Cooper and some of the other wide receivers that he coached back in the day as an assistant at Alabama. So everything he said to Dallas Wilson was, everything was very appealing to him. And then on top of that, coming back for OV, and then, like we kept mentioning DJ Lagway effect, he's going to have at least 2 more years in Gainesville. So I think a lot of these wide receivers, they're kind of seeing, hey, having Billy Napier come back, you can see the team playing a little bit better. They're not looking over their shoulders like, who's going to be my head coach? And then I just think last night, if the game would have went the other way and say they would have got blown out by LSU, we probably have to be having a different conversation. But that type of win, and having DJ being a part of that win, that late touchdown, and then you see Elijah Badger, who's in his final year, you have to be somewhat appealed by that if you're a guy like Dallas Wilson. So next weekend's OV is going to be very crucial. But as of right now, Florida probably has the best chance of flipping them. One other thing, though, Josh, he is planning to get out to Oregon after that. So we always say who gets the last visit. That could maybe sway things back to Oregon, but Florida could not win any better, with Dallas Wilson.
Yeah. Well, 3 weeks from signing day, the Gators are making this really, really interesting, not just with Jamie Ffrench and Tramel Jones and Dallas Wilson. There's more, and you guys at Gators Online have done an incredible job this weekend leading into it. On the day of the game, all the fallout, you guys have it all. I couldn't possibly ask you about Joseph Mbachu and Stephon Shivers and Solomon Thomas and Tavares Dice. You guys have all that intel on the site, but I do want to ask you about one more guy, and that's Myron Charles, another Texas commit from the state of Florida. I'm getting some vibes here that this could be trending the way that DeAndre Robinson's recruitment did last year. The defensive lineman out of Orlando decided, hey, at the end, I want to stay in state. He commits to the Gators. Myron Charles from Port Charlotte. Is this a similar situation? Do you see this trending in the Gators' direction now after this visit?
Yeah, he's one guy, I think, when you look at the list of visitors, so many top guys, maybe the one we're not talking about as much, because obviously we're going to be waiting to speak with him. But remember, he already committed to Florida State. You don't often see a kid recommit to the same school, and we know how Florida State season's going. So I think obviously that's a wash. I don't see it happening. You would think Miami, but there hasn't been much buzz with Miami. So I think with Florida, it kind of gives them the edge as that in-state school who can maybe flip them down the stretch. And it could be a similar situation, Josh. I know Florida needs defensive linemen in this class. They're graduating a few others. Obviously, they have a lot of upperclassmen on the defensive front. And I think it just goes back. Obviously, I think a lot of these top recruits always respected Billy Napier, and they liked what he was doing, but they just didn't know if he was going to be the head coach. So I think Florida made the right move, kind of announcing and being like, hey, just so you guys know, he is coming back, so they can give Florida a harder look. And like we noted with the other guys, Josh, I just think the timing of these visits couldn't have went any better for Florida. The atmosphere, and now obviously the opportunity to play closer to home. Texas has a lot to offer. We know obviously they're top of the country right now in the rankings, NIL, all that stuff. But you can kind of see, like with DeAndre Robinson, he kind of said the same things on the stretch, but then he just said, being closer to home, that was a big thing as it kind of crept closer to sign day. So I think he is one of those guys in the background who could be a sleeper addition to this class that maybe a lot of people aren't talking about enough right now.
Whew, what a weekend for the Gators. UF fans, talk to Corey and I. How you guys feeling about Jamie Ffrench, about Tramel Jones, Dallas Wilson, Naeem Alford, so many talented recruits on campus? Talk to us, comment section below.